What's going on, people? Welcome to another Emotion Football live stream. My name is Alam, and today we have the third edition of the AI mock draft, the mock draft generated by ChatGPT and me. I do quite a bit of helping, I'm going to be doing some more helping with this one because every time we've done this, we've built on it. The first time we did it, it was a shit show. We kind of learned the boundaries of getting AI to come up with a mock draft. The second time we did it, we gave it a little bit more direction. I think the picks made a little bit more sense. This time, the third time that we're doing it, it's going to be really good because I fed it some even more, even more information. I'll get into that in a second. First of all, there's 6 people watching live. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Emotion Football, we got this stream today. We are probably going to have another stream on Wednesday. And then I'll be back on Saturday to recap the draft and do a little activity where I think we're finally going to start to look forward to next season. I've been kind of rejecting the idea of doing any power rankings or anything like that, but we're finally going to actually take a look at how the teams stack up once the draft is over. So that's going to be on Saturday during day 3. But yeah, we're going to get right into it. So this mock draft is going to be very different because I basically incorporated player visits. So I think about this time last week, there was a deadline on when players can visit teams officially. And that wrapped up. So you can actually look back and get reliable data on what teams had which players come in for visits. You can look at the players and their visit patterns and see basically generally like where their interest probably lies. So here's what I did. I fed ChatGPT the draft order. I fed it a player pool. I put it in order, but I told it that like you can do some outside research to tweak the order. I put in the player visits, so basically which teams had which players come in for visits. And then finally, I put in player ranges. So based on the visits, right? So let's say Will Johnson, he visited teams between 6 and 18, right? Cool. So that's his range. And what I told ChatGPT to do is if a player falls out of their range, consider them for every single pick, because at that point it just becomes a value thing. If Will Johnson is there at 25, maybe Houston wasn't thinking about drafting a corner, but they might look at Will Johnson and say, you know what, maybe we take him and trade Kamari Lassiter. Not saying that would happen, but I'm just saying hypothetically, when a player starts to fall, think CeeDee Lamb to the Cowboys, that's when you start to see teams go away from their board and target those players. So this mock draft is going to have the most information fed to ChatGPT compared to any other mocks that we've done. So this is probably going to be the best one. And we're going to get it started. So here, I'm going to tell ChatGPT the opening thing of we're going to do this mock draft pick by pick. I will tell you each team's draft philosophy before the pick. What else? Include a brief explanation with every pick. Okay, what else do I want to tell ChatGPT? I fed it all the information already, so it has the file, it has the instructions. Okay, you know what? Perfect. Ready? Okay, cool. So I did put in the pick range that Cam Ward was going 1, because that's not something any of us need to see. We all know Cam Ward is going number 1. Draft philosophy for the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are picking this high for the first time and have to employ a long-term vision, a long-term roster building approach, because they are that far away from contention. They have to go best player available. Okay. So I think this is pretty simple. This is pretty simple. It has to be Travis Hunter. ChatGPT aside, information I fed it aside. If you look at You know what? I should find a way to open up this document in a window. Give me a second, people. Let me see if I can share screen. Mock draft information open with. Can I open this with Google Chrome? Bear with me, people. Can it be opened with Google Chrome? Guess not. Okay. Anyways, so Travis Hunter only visited with two teams. He only visited with Tennessee and Cleveland. There's no official visit with the Giants. The only reason that would be the case, in my opinion, is if Travis Hunter turned it down. So that's a clear indication to me that he knows Cleveland is taking him if Tennessee doesn't. So that's kind of my thing, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to feed this information to ChatGPT, because I think that's really relevant information. If you if you remember when the Eagles took Jalen Carter did not visit with any teams outside of the top 10 because the Eagles had the 10th pick, and Drew Rosenhaus knew the Eagles are taking Jalen Carter if given the opportunity. So why are we taking visits unless a team trades up? When you see that Travis Hunter hasn't officially visited with the Giants, I think that can be the only reason. So I got Travis Hunter going too, and so does ChatGPT, because again, the data just makes it clear when you look at the visits for every team and every player. And also, if you just think about the common sense of the fact that Abdul Carter is great, but Travis Hunter is like an insane, like I don't want to say generational because I feel like that's an overused term, but generational legitimately applies here, considering his flexibility for both sides of the ball. So we're going Travis Hunter number 2. Okay. The New York Giants. The coach and GM of the Giants are under a lot of pressure and need to turn in an impressive season to save their jobs. For that reason, they are likely looking to take a player that impacts winning immediately. However, they don't have a long-term solution at QB, and allegedly their owner is fascinated with Shedeur Sanders. That being said, they signed 2 QBs. Shedeur would be QB3 when the season starts. And there are some concerns about Shedeur being the best player available at number 3 as is. Okay, cool. Let's see what ChatGPT says with this. So this is what I fed to, I'm not going to read it out loud because I just typed it in front of everyone and read it out loud as I typed it. But I try to give a balanced picture of the situation that New York is in, and let ChatGPT do with it as it may. Shedeur's value, Mason Graham, blah, blah, blah. Pick is in, Shedeur Sanders. Damn, it has the Giants going Shedeur. Okay, why? This is the classic case of ownership influence overriding traditional BPA logic, which happens often in real drafts. The Giants need to win now. Flexibility if bro, they don't have Drew Lock. Okay, you know what? This has to be edited because they always get this wrong. All right, cool. They always, for some reason, have a year-old view of the Giants. I feel like every other organization, ChatGPT understands something about the Giants. They signed 2 QBs, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Okay, let's try this again. Verdict, Abdul Carter. Okay, so including that they have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston clearly changed things, justifiably so. I'm glad that that happened because that's definitely the case. Um, my point with the Giants is pretty consistent. I cannot see this regime. If they fired the GM and they fired the coach and they were starting fresh, I think you know what they could absolutely look to get their guy. Part of what every team picking at this part of the draft is thinking is that hey, if we get things right, we'll not be picking here again next year. So with that being the case, I would look at the Giants as an organization that might want to get their guy, even if Shador isn't great. They might want to get their guy here, stash him, be as good as they can, and then next year in their head, if they're picking at 16, they don't have to reach for a quarterback at 16. They already have Shador. But no, they can't afford to do that, I don't think. If you saw Adam Schefter's report that he put out today, he said that Kayvon Thibodeau is on the trading block. And if he's on the trading block, I think there's only one reason that could be the case, and that's because the Giants are preparing to take Abdul Carter. So like Abdul Carter at 3 makes sense. This is BPA. He's an amazing player. I will not enjoy seeing him in New York as an Eagles fan. But he makes sense. So the explanation for him is he checks every box: immediate impact, positional value, rare athleticism, fits the pressure of the front office that can't afford a red shirt. That's a huge point here. The front office cannot afford a red shirt. Shador remains in play for teams that can be more patient. Pick number 4, New England Patriots. Okay. The New England Patriots. Let's see. The New England Patriots need to... Oh, sorry. All right. The New England Patriots need to go BPA as well, I think. But the slant here is, I think Mike Vrabel has a lot of sway in the organization, and I think his BPA is different. I think he's definitely going to be focused in the trenches, focused on physicality. I think Travis Hunter is maybe the only skill position player that he would go for. But let's see what ChatGPT has to say. New England will likely look for the best player available. However, Mike Vrabel has a lot of sway in this organization, and he has a distinct philosophy centered around physicality and toughness. All right. Let's see what New England does. Trenches oriented, high motor. Options who fit: Mason Graham, Will Campbell, T-Mac, Shador. The fuck? Okay, Mason Graham at 4. This one is interesting to me because a lot of people aren't talking about this as a possibility. I have long thought that Will Campbell, it doesn't really seem like the offensive tackles in this class scream number 4 overall. And while New England paid Milton Williams a lot of money, Christian Barmore is really the only other defensive tackle that's established in New England right now. And Christian Barmore has had his health issues and he hasn't really been available for the last little bit. So, therefore, would not be all that surprised if they go defensive tackle. I think Mason Graham is BPA here. Yeah, he is BPA. I think he fits a need from New England's standpoint of you don't have to necessarily rely on Christian Barmore. If he's there, that's phenomenal. If he's there, you have an amazing 3-man rotation, which oddly enough, I do think that they need to have, because the thing with Milton Williams is that he's great, but he's never been the guy in the trenches. So I think all of a sudden, if you put him in New England and he doesn't really have a respectable supporting cast and he's the focal point, I don't think you're going to get the same production. I think if you have Mason Graham in there, that really helps you unlock Philadelphia Milton Williams. So I think Mason Graham here, not that ridiculous of a option. I think they have Harold Landry on the edge. Let me check their depth chart. I think they brought in somebody for the other spot as well. I don't think they have a complete hold at edge. Oh no, they brought in Kason, but they have Keon White. From an offensive lineman standpoint, they brought in 3 guys, a tackle, a guard, and a center. Um, again, I think tackle makes sense for them in the draft as a whole. I think they can definitely get one in round 2, but I don't think that it's BP like Will Campbell at 4 over Mason Graham is not getting the best available player. And when it comes to offensive tackle, you can still get a pretty good option in the top of the second round. So I actually like this. I think it introduced this possibility to me 2 days ago, and I kind of was a little bit iffy about it. But Mason Graham to New England to me makes sense. That's more BPA than Will Campbell. Okay, Jacksonville Jaguars. So Jacksonville just hired a GM from the Rams who notoriously don't visit with a lot of players. Therefore, their visit pool is likely not a good indicator. Jacksonville has a lot of picks, so they are not pressed to attack a particular need here. The Jags go best player available. Okay, let's see what ChatGPT says the Jags do without Mason Graham, because everybody has Mason Graham penciled in here at number 5. Will Campbell, Shedeur Sanders, brother, no way. Ashton Genty, T-Mac, Tedero McMillan, Will Campbell. So the Jaguars go Will Campbell here. They can. So James Gladstone, the GM that they got from the Rams, he actually talked about it at the beginning of the offseason. He said, look, we're going to try to get better at the interior of the offensive line. They did add some pieces, but I do think there's one spot left over. I'm going to double check that right now. Yeah, so they have 2 tackles, Walker Little and Anton Harrison, which are like solid tackles, nothing spectacular though. They signed Rob Hainsey to play center and Patrick McCarry to play guard, but there is one spot left. And in this case, they get to fill that gap with Will Campbell so he can come in and play guard. If they like him better than Walker Little, they can play him in the Walker Little spot, but they just paid Walker Little, so that might have to be a long-term thing. Think Will Campbell is the better player, but you have Walker Little under contract. You have Ezra Cleveland penciled in to play guard for you right now. I don't think that's something that you want to do long-term. So Will Campbell at 5 makes sense. So we got the Raiders. The Raiders at 6. Just quickly looking at the Raiders visit list to see if there's any indications here. So you got Banks, Burden, Genty. Okay, no real indication here. All right. The Raiders do not have a lot of great indicators. Their visit pool has several different positions. Their needs. Oh, hold on. They have needs all over the place. There is not a ton of hold on. Spytech and Brady do not have a ton of history to analyze. I would consider the following 2 things. Pete Carroll's. No, you know what? 3 things. Pete Carroll's history. Carroll's likely desire to win now because of age, and the fact that Geno Smith just got a contract. A QB here would be benched and add value years from now. Okay. All right. Let's go. I would imagine the Raiders target best player available. Okay, so I see King is in the chat. Big up King. Okay, so you missed the standard top three. So you had Cam Ward 1, Travis Hunter 2, Abdul Carter 3. ChatGPT said Mason Graham number 4 to New England, which it's not crazy. It's not popular, but it's not crazy. Jaguars went Will Campbell 5. So Will Campbell 4 and Mason Graham 5 is particularly popular. ChatGPT flipped those two around. So we're at number 6, where we're gonna see what the Raiders do. T-Mac, Shador, Jalen Walker, Genty, Nolan, Will Johnson, final call. Okay, the pick is Jalen Walker. Damn, okay. So shit. You know what's crazy? I saw Jalen Walker mocked to the Raiders for the first time today. I know that some people have him really high. I forget the guy for Bleacher Report. The Bleacher Report guy has him as the 5th best player in the draft. He's a true Pete Carroll defender who makes the Raiders defense faster and more physical right away. With his top 16 range of visits confirmed, he's an ideal blend of BPA and identity pick. Shador still on the board, but likely not for long. Damn, okay. Okay, so Jalen Walker is off the board here. That sucks for Carolina, man. That really sucks for Carolina because everybody has him penciled in for Carolina. We got the Jets on the board here, and also King, bro. Forgot to tell you, the big thing that we're doing differently today is we're incorporating visits. So because the player visits are done, like they can't do visits anymore, the data is finalized. So I took the list of players that visited every team and I trimmed off the fat. So I trimmed off people that teams wouldn't consider it at their first round pick. So there's a very tight list of player visits, and I fed the player visit data to ChatGPT. And kind of what that helps figure out is like ranges for players as well. Because if a player took visits between 12 and 22, that's also probably where they expect to go. Like the example that I used is that Jalen Carter, when he was in the draft, he did not take any visits beyond 10. Why? Because the Eagles told his agent, you're not getting past 10. If he's there at 10, we're taking him. So his agent rejected all visits after 10. So when you see where players are taking visits, that's a pretty clear indicator of where they think they're going to go. So fun fact, Travis Hunter has not taken any visits after 2. He visited Tennessee, he visited Cleveland, that's it. So Hunter probably knows that he's not getting past Cleveland. So yeah, so that data I think is really going to make this mock draft different. Not every team takes visits as seriously. Some teams only ever pick players that they visit with. Some teams don't care, like the Rams. But yeah, so I factored that into. I fed that to ChatGPT, but also just personally looking at that information, there's a lot of very interesting trends. And like, for example, what I would say about the Jets, right? The only 3 visits they took for first round prospects are all defensive linemen. They visited with Mason Graham, Shamar Stewart, and Michael Williams. So the thing is, I think there's a clear slant there. Like they're, in my opinion, probably taking a defensive lineman. It might not be those 3 players. It might, they could in theory not be on the board, but they visited with 3 people. So what is the draft philosophy? The Jets have an array of needs. However, a couple things stand out. I think Aaron Glenn has a ton of sway, and he's from Detroit. A distinct football culture. Also, their visits for this pick are all defensive linemen. So I think that's a giveaway. All right. ChatGPT, who's it going to be? Mykel Williams or Shamar Stewart, bro? The Jets are going for athletic freaks here. Is ranked higher. Widest path. Mykel Williams. Okay, so the two Georgia edge rushers go back to back here. Mykel Williams to Detroit. So I remember looking at the Jets edge rushing group, and they have, I forget the names, but one of them was sick last year, and the other one was injured all year, but was sick the year before. The point is, though, they didn't have anybody beyond that, and one guy's coming off a main injury, and they're also both first-round picks. So you're gonna first-round picks from back-to-back years. You're gonna have to pay them at the same time. You're probably gonna pay one of them, and you have Mykel Williams to be the other. This is a very if you think about Detroit's culture, Dan Campbell's culture, bite kneecaps culture, it really aligns with Georgia. If anybody's familiar with Georgia's program, shout out Bloody Tuesdays. This is a culture fit that's perfect. Defensive end, a trench pick. That's very part and parcel for, again, how these kind of programs work. So I really like Mykel Williams. I also like for Mykel Williams that he doesn't have to play immediately, because in New York, he can be a rotational edge rusher behind the two starters, develop, and then probably be amazing next year. So Mykel Williams is off the board. And what I would like to tell you guys is the Carolina got completely fucked in this mock draft. The two edge rushers that they would consider, probably they both went ahead of them, the two picks in front of them, the Raiders and the Jets. Both took edge rushers. Both took the top two edge rushers off the board. So I'm going to look at Carolina's visits. Jalen Walker. So you got Nolan, Banks, Emenwari, and Tedero McMillan. Okay. The Panthers desperately need an upgrade at edge rusher. But their edge rusher of choice is off the board. Do they go best player available from the pool, or do they force? No, I'm going to say with no edge rushers left in their visit pool, it will have to be there we go. You will have to figure out if it's worth it to force the need with edge rusher. Is there great value that they haven't Okay, let's see what ChatGPT does with this. This is the first pick that's very interesting in this mock. So Carolina's visits with Jalen Walker off the board are Kelvin Banks, Nick Emenwari, T-Mac, and Walter Nolan. So tons of options here, none of them being edge rushers. Again, the only edge rusher they met with in this part of the draft was Jalen Walker. So maybe the other ones they visited with are round two guys, and they would pivot to that. But ChatGPT is going to have to figure that out for us. I'm worried. Gone. Okay. Damn. Carolina takes James Pierce. Wow, even without a viz, has to be consideration now due to his fall beyond range and the gaping hole at edge. The stops the side and fills a massive need with one of the class's most disruptive pass rushers. He's explosive, flexible, and ready to contribute. Damn. Okay, this is a serious panic pick, and it's definitely possible. For them, I'm kind of surprised that their visits are the way they are because um, I don't think they like. They have Xavier Legette, who we might not love him as a football community, but they just drafted him with a first round pick last year. They have Coker, who they like. They have Adam Thielen, who they just gave money to. So there's not even a natural fit for T Mac, even though obviously he would be their best receiver immediately. They just paid the safety from Vegas, Morig. Um, so I don't know how Eminwari works with that. I don't know if they're different. Like I don't know if they're different kinds of safeties. I actually don't know too much about Morig's game. Walter Nolan, they have Derek Brown and Tershawn Wharton. There's actually not a lot of, there's not a ton of like easy solutions for them here. Kelvin Banks was one of their visits. They actually have a solid offensive line. So I'm not incredibly surprised here. But wow, James Pierce at 9. That is quite the surprise. So we're gonna move on to the Saints now. I'm gonna take a quick peek at their visits for this pick, see what their options look like. So the Saints visits, oh, they had a bunch of visits. Okay, they had a bunch of visits. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna tell ChatGPT what I know. The Saints can go a bunch of different directions, but Adam Schefter mentioned that they want to go OL or DL. I think they go best player available. All right, what did... So if they go OL DL, it's probably Walter Nolan. Probably. Damn. And the D line run continues. This feels very accurate for just how drafts work because the Raiders, I think, pushed the need for edge maybe earlier than people expected it, and then a run just continues. We know the Jets want an edge rusher. We know, or at least the defensive lineman. We know the Panthers want an edge rusher, and we know the Saints want to attack the trenches. So we got a D lineman rush. I don't think the Bears are going to continue. Yeah, I don't think the Bears are going to continue. So I'll let ChatGPT know what I think the Bears are going to do. The Bears can go a few directions, but Ben Johnson has already traded away DeAndre Swift earlier in his career, and the Bears visited with 2 RBs. So it looks like RB is the choice here. So the pick is Ashton Genty, and I really agree with this. I think Ashton Genty is going to be the pick at 10 if he's there. I think the only real threats to take Genty realistically is in the top 10. It's just the Raiders. So if he's not a Raider, I think he's definitely a Bear. And yeah, in a weird way, I think the Raiders might want Henderson more because Henderson was with Chip Kelly last year, who's their offensive coordinator now. So, yeah, I see this as a very likely landing spot for Genty. Like I said, if you look at the Bears' visits for this part of the draft, Will Campbell, who will not be there, Amarion Hampton, Ashton Genty, and Shamar Stewart. I think take positional value aside, Hampton and Genty are just better football players than Shamar Stewart. So I think it's a pretty clear indicator what they're doing here. Genty is RB1 in most people's books. So you got Ashton Genty going to the Bears, and it leaves the Niners in a very interesting situation. So I'm going to take a peek at their visits. The Niners, I think, almost exclusively met with linemen. Okay. All right. Let's see. So the 49ers visits are a dead giveaway. They are going OL or DL. The choice will likely be a combination of best player available and fit into scheme. Fit into Shanahan's zone blocking scheme offensively or Saleh's scheme defensively. Okay, let's see what it gives us for the Niners. This is definitely a trench pick. Athletic tackle, tools for zone, Kelvin Banks, Tyleek Williams, Shamar Stewart, Mike Green. They take Josh Simmons. So they take the Ohio State. He has guard. Wait, hold on. Kelvin Banks and Kelvin Banks is not off the board. Wait a second. Hold on. Wait, Kelvin Banks is not off the board, right? We had the top 5, then edge rushers. Yeah, hold on. Kelvin Banks is not off the board. Does that change things? Okay, I'm just going to say, hey, ensure this pick is kept in mind in your tally of the picks so far, not the errant Simmons selection. Okay, for the Cowboys, let's take a peek at their visits before the draft and see what they're an indicator of. The Dallas Cowboys, oh shit, they visited with like 15 people that could be picked here. Okay. They have visited with several talents. They can go a lot of different directions. Their recent successes taking players in the first round in the last 5-6 years suggests they will go best player available. See if there are any tendencies you can observe in their picks, such as CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, etc. You know what? I'm actually not going to include that because, to be honest, their last 2 picks, Guyton and Mozzie Smith, have not been all that. So I'm going to remove this. I think they will go best player available. Corner, defensive interior. Okay, I want to make sure that it doesn't have anybody off the board that is still on the board. Finalists: McMillan versus Will Johnson. T-Mac goes to Dallas. So T-Mac to Dallas is also a pretty popular pick. I think it makes a lot of sense. They do need a receiver. They haven't really added one. They haven't even replaced Cooks. Not that it would take a whole lot of replacing, but I think clearly they want for there to be some space in that offense. To me, which indicates that they're going to draft somebody. If that's a position they're willing to take, T-Mac makes a ton of sense. I don't know if he necessarily fits the. I mean, there's some star power. I think wide receiver is always that's a sexy draft pick. So definitely fits the Jerry Jones or passes the Jerry Jones test. Okay. With T-Mac off the board, we're going to look at Miami. What do Miami's visits indicate? So Banks is off the board. The rest of their visits are still on the board. So all right, let's see what they do. This is probably Emin or Booker. What is the draft philosophy? Miami has a ton of needs, and they have a weird outlook on this season with there being pressure on the coach and GM, but a pair of superstars in Tyreek Hill. Hold on. No, you know, we look on the season period. There's pressure on the coach and GM, but a pair of superstars in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey that seemingly you will be traded soon. They took Chop Robinson last year, and they have. Let me see who else. I think they still have Chubb and Jalen Phillips, I believe. So I don't think they're going edge with those three bodies there. Like I know they visited with Shamar Stewart. Yeah, they do. So I do not think they go edge rusher here. Okay. Let's see what Miami does. Oh, it's going to be Booker. Yeah, so the Dolphins take Booker. That makes sense. They need an offensive. They just need offensive line help generally. Indy apparently takes Booker if he's there. So with Booker being off the board, they're kind of in a tough spot. Looking at who they have visited with, they still got their options. Where is Tyler? Oh yeah, Tyler Warren. 5-19. Okay. Let's see. What's their draft philosophy? The Colts are literally a pressure cooker. With the owner, GM, coach, and QB all under pressure. They likely target someone that can impact winning now. Okay. Who are the names? The names on their visit list for this pick: Egbuka, Siobhan Ravel, Josh Simmons, and Shamar Stewart. And I'm just going to throw in there. No, you know what? I'm just going to let this go. That can impact winning now. They have not had a great tight end in a long time. Impact winning now, which makes Warren a candidate despite not visiting. Because I think the thing about Warren is that he hasn't taken any visits. I think you got to kind of force the issue with Warren at some point, and I think this is the first spot where I think you have to force the issue. Okay, Warren's case. Tyler Warren to Indy. Okay, makes sense. Tyler Warren. They haven't had a good tight end in a long time. They have receivers that you would have to consider on paper. So they have Alec Pierce, A.D. Mitchell, Pittman. Yeah, Michael Pittman. You can't really upgrade them. That's why I think the Agbuka visit is weird. But you can throw Tyler Warren in there and do a whole lot of interesting creative stuff with him. So I think that's a pretty good option for them, and I think that's an option they're definitely gonna benefit from. I think this is really gonna help whoever the quarterback is, whether it's Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. All right, let's go to the next pick. The next pick we have the Atlanta Falcons. So I think the Atlanta Falcons also had a very interesting list of visits. Okay, so the remaining players they have left: Connerly, Emanwari, Hairston, Johnson, Starks, Stewart. Okay, cool. Starks, Stewart. You know what? Okay. I'm just gonna say that this has to be a defensive pick, and we're gonna let ChatGPT do its thing from that point. Let's say Atlanta has to go defense and likely makes a move that impacts winning now. Damn. The information is trickling in slowly. But yeah, I think this pick probably ends up being Will Johnson because of the visits, even though that feels a little bit like forcing something that they don't need. Because I'm looking at it here. Do they need an outside corner? I mean, as of right now, their corners are D. Alford. You know what? They might. They might need a corner. Mike Hughes. Spoche. Let me look up Mike Hughes' contract. Is he locked in to play like long term? No, 3 years, 18 mil. But they did just sign him. 6 mil a year is like not serious money for a corner though. D. Alford. Let's see him. Let's see what his contract is saying. Anyways, ChatGPT says physical press corner, perfect scheme fit. Is he a physical press corner though? Come on, ChatGPT. So the Falcons go Will Johnson. They get an instant upgrade in the secondary, somebody that they can start alongside AJ Terrell, giving them a pretty formidable corner duo. I think Raheem Morris had Jalen Ramsey in LA. So this is probably the best corner tandem since the one he had in LA with Jalen Ramsey. So immediate impact, immediate starter, somebody who can help Atlanta from day one. So I think that's something that ends up working well for them. All right, let's go to the next team. You got the Arizona Cardinals. I think they also had a fairly defensive visit list. Yeah, there was like a couple offensive players here and there, but generally, yeah, they had Josh Simmons, offensive tackle. I don't think they're going that direction. Calvin Banks is already taken. Matthew Golden visited with damn near everybody. Okay. Arizona likely goes best player available defensively. Kenneth Grant, Jahad Campbell, Nick Scarton. Uh, shit. Okay. All the edge rushers are gone. BPA alignment: Jahad Campbell, Kenneth Grant, and Shamar Stewart. So the pick is Jahad Campbell. All right. So Jahad Campbell goes before Tampa Bay, which is the team that he was tied to. I think it makes sense for the Cardinals because their linebacker play has been good, but nothing special. As of now, they have the options are Akeem Davis Gaither and Mac Wilson. So definitely nothing special there. Jahad Campbell comes in and he's the best linebacker in the room. So that gives them a pretty revamped linebacking starting lineup group because they just traded for Baron Browning in the middle of last year. They just signed Josh Sweat and now they draft Jahad Campbell. So revamped linebacker room, refreshing the 3-4 for Jonathan Gannon. Jahad Campbell, I think, ends up being a phenomenal fit in this defense. Does a lot of interesting things. And I definitely like this pick for them. Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals. We're just going to say best defensive player available. Best defensive player available. I think that ends up being Shamar Stewart, by the way. It's either Shamar Stewart or Emin Wari. Yeah. Okay. Damn, Shamar Stewart. Shit. I hate this for the Bengals. By the way, I hate this for the Bengals so much. I do not think this is a great fit for them. Yeah. I think that he needs time. I think he needs to go somewhere where the defensive coordinator is trusted. They just hired Al Golden from college, who is a veteran defensive coordinator, but I don't know. I don't know if I like that for him. Like the player, Shamar Stewart. I think they're going to part ways with Trey Hendrickson, so they're going to need him to play immediately, and I don't think that's a good idea either. So, yeah, definitely not thrilled with this by any means. All right, we're gonna go to the next pick, which is Seattle. Let's look at Seattle's visits. Seattle's visits. Okay. The available players: Emin Wari, Revel, it's just those two. All right. Do they have a safety tandem that's ready to go? Seattle our lads. Let's see. I mean, I guess Kobe Bryant is a starting safety right now. Kobe Bryant stats. Did he play like that last year? Kobe Bryant started 11 games. Shit. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about this. Julian Love, did he play? But also, Kobe Bryant is not a McDonald guy. So maybe he isn't somebody who Julian Love started 17 games. Damn. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna say best player available. We're just gonna say best player available. I'm gonna show Smart Tough Footballers. Emin Wari. Hairston, Ravel, Grant, and Falling. Oh, okay. Burden and Simmons. Okay, I'm glad that it's keeping track of these players. Top two options. They take Kenneth Grant. Okay, hold on. Let me actually edit this because I didn't put Kenneth Grant in the visiting list. Kenneth Grant is not in the visiting pool for Seattle. That looks like an edit. Sorry, an issue. Because I'm looking at the list that I provided it. Kenneth Grant is not in that list. Yeah, see, you're right. Kenneth Grant did not visit Seattle. Come on, ChatGPT. There we go. The pick here is Emin Worry. So yeah, Emin Worry, the player they visited with, he fits being an impact player for Seattle defensively. Mike McDonald gets more of his guys. I think the goal of the offseason for Seattle has definitely been to get Mike McDonald his guys. They haven't really visited with offensive linemen. I think they're going to address that in day 2. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. But it is what it looks like they're going to do. So yeah, they get one of the, I think, just the best safety in the draft, one of the better defensive players in the draft. There's hesitancy about taking safeties, but Emin Worry to Seattle does make some sense in terms of what they need. Okay, Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay just goes best player available. Like, actually, you know what? Let me exclude some positions. Let me look at Tampa Bay's depth chart, and we can exclude some positions. They're not going receiver. They're not going offensive line. This is honestly probably a best defensive player available. Let me just check Cade Otton's stats. Did he put up something ridiculous that I just forgot? 14 starts, 600 yards. That's very regular. Okay. Tampa Bay goes best player available defensively, except maybe a tight end. Okay. So who are the defensive pieces there? This is probably Mike Green. Looking at the visits, this is either Mike Green or Ravel. Or Scarton, never mind. Or Harrison, I don't know. The pick is Scarton, damn. All right, so they go edge rusher. Looking at their edge positions now, they do need some depth. They really don't have anybody behind Yaya Diaby and Hassan Reddick, so this definitely gives them some Hassan Reddick insurance because, truthfully, you have no idea what you're going to get from him. Kind of a little bit questionable the fit here, and I feel like that's something that ChatGPT probably has a hard time with. But this guy is a very physical, big edge rusher. I don't know if he's a 3-4 outside linebacker. If you think about the guys they have right now, Yaya Diaby, very athletic. Hassan Reddick is very athletic. Maybe that's what they want to complement. They did meet with Scarton for a top 30 visit, so you got to consider him. But yeah, kind of a surprise there. Denver Broncos. Okay, guys, spoiler alert here. Spoiler alert. Denver's list is very running back heavy. They're going running back, guys. I'm just going to let you know. So looking at their thing here, the available options are Burden, Golden, Hairston. Actually, no, never mind. I'm tripping. Hold on. So their options here on their list are Loveland, Henderson, Hairston, Golden, and Burden. Oh, it's the Chargers that are a dead giveaway. Wait, they don't have a Marion Hampton? What? That's crazy. But you know what? They do have Henderson. Maybe I'm tripping. All right. So Denver goes best player available in their visit pool. Well, they are pretty stubborn as an organization. So I think the players that they like the Bo Nix pick, if anything, should just tell you that Sean Payton is just going to do whatever he thinks at all time. So, yeah, I think they probably stick rigidly to their visit pool, and we'll see what that what that gives them. Burden and Golden. Oh shit. Oh yeah, Burden is the pick here. Luther Burden the third. Okay, so Burden. Part of the reason why this is really interesting, his visit range was 6 to 20. The Broncos were the very latest visit he took. If you look at some of the other receivers, Golden took visits all the way up to 30. Where's the other receiver? Igbuka, he's not here, but he took some late visits as well. Burden is the one that stopped taking visits at the earliest, which is to me an indicator. And hilariously, 20 was the last visit he took, which probably means that he thinks that's his floor. So Burden is there at 20. He falls to Denver, and Denver, I think, gets an interesting quarterback for them. Interesting receiver for their quarterback, because if you think about what Bo Nix was at Oregon, he had a lot of these easy, simple kind of like receivers that caught screens, little short routes, and made plays with the ball. Burden is very much that receiver. So this is actually a great fit. I really like Luther Burden for Denver from that standpoint. Pittsburgh. I think they had some pretty distinct visits as well. Never mind. I was mixing them up with somebody else. All right. Okay. Who do they have? By the way, Shador hasn't gone yet. And I think in this mock, when you really think about visits, I think Shador and Jackson Dart fall out of the first. Okay. Darius Alexander, Trey Amos. Is there a positional giveaway? Not really. Okay. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh goes best player available from their visit pool. Damn, is it going to be Hairston? Damn, it's going to be. Oh, it's either going to be Hairston or Golden. Damn, it's Emeka Igbuka. So, Pittsburgh goes wide receiver. Pittsburgh did visit. Let me just pull it up. They did visit with Igbuka at the pro day. They visited with Matthew Golden for a 30 draft, or like 30 visit. They do have a demonstrated interest in receiver. Again, I don't know if you guys have seen the Adam Schefter pre-draft intel report, but part of what I said with the Giants pick was, when you see that Thibodeau is a candidate of somebody who could get traded, you hear that as, oh, they're drafting an edge rusher. He also listed George Pickens as one of those options, which means that the receiver visits are not a joke. They could go receiver, and that could mean that George Pickens gets traded. So, with that said, Emeka Egbuka goes before Matthew Golden, and he is a Pittsburgh Steeler. So we have a very interesting draft right now. We got the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers, I think they're the ones who had a very distinct. Oh yeah, they basically have two tight ends and Matthew Golden here. So I think they definitely have a tight end slant. The Chargers visits demonstrate that tight end is their priority, and their coach and Jim Harbaugh was just the coach of Michigan. He drafted Junior Colson last year, which is my cue to ChatGPT that this is Colston Loveland. So yeah, they take Colston Loveland here. They get their tight end. I think he's outstanding. He's from Michigan. He drafted a Michigan player last year. That was his program, his baby. Colston Loveland already has the Jim Harbaugh stamp of approval, and he gets it for the second time in his football career here for the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chargers finally get the tight end they want. That leaves us looking at the Green Bay Packers. So the Green Bay Packers, let's look at their visit list. I think they had a pretty big list. Yeah, they did. Okay. We'll just call BPA from the list. Best player available from the visit list. From their visit lists. No, I think ChatGPT understands it as visit pool. Cool. There we go. What is it going to give us for the Green Bay Packers? Golden Ravel. Let me make sure that this is actually true. Simmons, TJ Sanders. Okay, it got the list right. Yeah, this is going to be Golden, I think. Wow, they go Simmons. How? Okay, wow. So I guess Simmons falls a bit. And he ends up in Green Bay where he likely plays guard. Let's look at Green Bay's depth chart. Because that's kind of surprising to me. Yeah, you know what? I don't think they go offensive line. I mean, that visit is kind of peculiar. Maybe he's there to play left tackle. Let's look at this Rasheed Walker fellow. Started 17 games last year and the year before. Never mind. He is a left tackle. John Ryan. Who could this be? He started 17 games for them last year as well. Who could this be for? Zach Tom? No, Zach Tom is good for them. No, they don't go offensive line. I don't know why they took that visit. You know what? We're going to have to edit this. Damn, I should have fed that to ChatGPT. You know what? I'm going to have to edit this. Let's look where else it's pretty obvious that they're not going to go. Do they have a tight end on their visit list? No. Okay, their visit list has 2 edges that are no longer on the board. Could they go Sanders? Probably. Okay, best player from the pool. OL is not a short-term need. Okay, this should change things because looking at Green Bay taking Simmons, I really can't see that happening. Like this has to be Golden. Looking at the visit list, looking at their team, looking at just the way the board fell, man, it has to be Matthew Golden. All right, perfect. That makes sense. Matthew Golden goes to the Packers. They finally get their wide receiver 1. Agbuka is off the board. Vikings are on the board. On the clock, sorry. Okay, the Vikings. Harmon. This is either Harmon or Ravel. I don't think that they take those offensive linemen look like second round picks to me. All right. Best defensive player on their board. No, best player available from their visit pool. Yeah, I think so. The Vikings, that probably leads them with Harmon or Ravel. It was probably Ravel. No, it's Harmon. Okay, so they get Harmon, who I think they need, by the way, because Hargrave and what's his name, John Allen, both fairly older and injury-prone players. So I don't think it makes a whole ton of sense for them to be the picks. So yeah, I think these two are definitely the ones. like the real options, Harmon and Ravel. And I think Harmon being the pick, like I said, fits a need. It's BPA. He definitely should just get off the board at some point. This part of the draft, he needs to come off. I can't see Harmon falling to the second round. But that leaves us with the Houston Texans. Let's look at their visits. Do their visits indicate anything? Nope. They have a ton of visits. All right. So Booker is gone. So they have Connerly, Grant. I think both of those could be options. Hampton. Ooh, Amari and Hampton is still on the board. Yikes. Okay, could they take Hampton? That would be crazy. Hampton is on the board. Donovan Jackson, Ravel. You know what? I'm going to give them the opportunity to go BPA. Best player available. Period. So they go Josh Simmons. That is an unreal value for them in the first round. That feels to me like the Eagles getting Quinyon Mitchell at 22. A player falls just because of runs at other positions. That player is too good to be here. And that is a sensational pull for them. Wow. Happens again, man. This part of the draft, funny things happen in this part of the draft. Shamar Stewart and Matthew Golden. So Shamar Stewart is the only. Actually, no, he got taken as well. Okay, so the Rams see do not, with many players or pick based on visits. They go best player available within the structure of their needs. Okay, let's see what this gives them. Imagine if this is Shador, but that can't be a need thing. Oh, this is probably a corner. Maxwell Hairston. That makes sense for them. That corner makes sense for sure. Baltimore, their visit pool was tiny. Simmons, Shamar, and Tyleek Williams. I think they go Tyleek here. I think they're a pretty visit heavy team. Like they listen to their visits. Baltimore Ravens, best player available from player pool. Or sorry, visit pool. Yeah, so they picked Tyleek Williams. This is actually a replacement of the big guy who got the interception against Cleveland. Forget what his name is, but that really, really large human being, that dude is the person they're replacing with this, the nose tackle. So okay, we're gonna go to the next pick. There's a lot of so I think Amari and Hampton is still here, which feels insane. He's got to go soon, but I think everybody else. Oh, Jade Barron is still here. That's ridiculous. How did Jade Barron fall? Okay, Detroit's Hairston, Golden, Tyler. Shit. Okay, Detroit best player available within the structure of. No, actually, they just take best player available. Detroit, Brad Holmes, they just take best player available. Siobhan Revell? No. Okay. But they just took CB in rounds 1 and 2 last year. And they just signed DJ Reed. So we're going to have to tweak that. It can't be corner. TJ Sanders. So not Gray Zabel? Damn. I'm surprised. I thought Gray Zabel would be prioritized here. Commanders. Connerly or Ezeraku. Okay, let's just go BPA from draft pool. Best player available from visit pool. So I think that gives them Ezeraku or Josh Connerly, which I think both are sensible needs. They do need an edge rusher and they do need an offensive lineman. I think that's going to give them Connerly. So they take Connerly from Oregon. Yeah, makes sense. Oregon was a trenches team this year under Dan Lanning. But yeah, I think put somebody who they can probably play at guard immediately while they wait for the guy who tore his ACL, Cosme. They can play him at guard while they wait for Cosme, then kick him to right tackle whenever Wiley is done playing. So yeah, I like the pick for. I like the pick for Washington here. And then that gives us what, 3 more picks? The Bills. Okay, the Bills had a pretty widespread visit list. Let's just say the Bills take BPA from the pool. Best player available from the visit pool. There's so many options here. It could be Ravel. It could be Malachi Starks. It could be Benjamin Morrison. It could be Landon Jackson. It's probably Mike Green. Oh, they take Siobhan Ravel. So it's funny because they just brought back Trey White. He can probably play short term while Ravel gets healthy / gets in the swing of things. But yeah, I like corner. I do think corner is a need for them. And I think it makes sense. Kansas City Chiefs. I think they also had a small visit list. Yeah, they did. Oh, okay. Let's go. No, their visit list was so clear that they're going offensive line. Let's go best value possible at offensive line. Damn, they take Ursary over Gray Zabel. Is Gray Zabel just not on this list? What happened to Gray Zabel? Did he have a range? Gray Zabel, 19 to 28. Damn, okay. I think ChatGPT may have forgot about Gray Zabel. That's a shame. What about Gray Zabel? Damn, it says we're going Ursary anyways. Fair enough. Okay, Philadelphia. Class player available from the visit pool. Philadelphia picks a lot from their visit pool. Damn, it's going to give us Malachi Starks, isn't it? Malachi Starks. We get the CJ replacement, and the summer of Howie Roseman going away from his tendencies continues. Give me a full tally of the 32 picks and a list of the best remaining players left. All right, let's see. Let's see who got left. Amari and Hampton not going feels criminal. It feels like Gray Zabel got forgotten about. Let me look at this list here. Oh, Jade Barron didn't go. That's crazy. Yeah, Jade Barron didn't go. That has to get figured out. We have to do this again on Wednesday. I think I'm getting better at getting this thing to understand how drafts work, but Gray Zabel not going doesn't make sense. Agbuka going before Golden didn't really make sense to me. Gray Zabel not going didn't make sense to me. Damn. Jade should have went, man. Especially Siobhan Ravel. Yeah, I think it forgot about some people. It definitely forgot about some people. It's taking its sweet time analyzing this too. Shit. Okay, the tally is taking time. I feel like it didn't take this much time the last few times we did this, but fair enough. All right. Here's the. Oh, it wants me to click this. No, man. Okay, this tally, you guys can see it, right? I don't know why it has to format like this. Cam Ward to the Titans, Travis Hunter to the Browns, Abdul Carter to the Giants, Mason Graham to the Patriots, Will Campbell to the Jags, Jalen Walker to the Raiders, Michael Williams to the Jets, James Pierce. That's really where shit goes left. James Pierce to the Panthers is wild. Nolan to the Saints, Ashton Genty to the Bears, Kelvin Banks to the Niners, T Mac to the Cowboys. Again, all of this except James Pierce is fairly sensible. Booker to the Dolphins, Warren to the Colts, Will Johnson to the Falcons, Jihad Campbell. Again, all of this. Shamar Stewart is a little bit wild, but it is what it is. That could happen. Shamar Stewart to the Bengals, Emin Worry to the Seahawks, Scarton to the edge run that happens in this draft feels a little bit unrealistic, but also edge is such a premium position that I guess you could maybe see it happening. Luther Burden, Agbuka, and Loveland. There's like a weapons run that happens here with Burden, Agbuka, Loveland, and Golden going. You got Derek Harmon to the Vikings, Simmons to the Texans. Then I think the fact that I forgot about Jade Barron really comes in here because Jade Barron should be the pick ahead of Hairston. And then Tyleek, TJ Sanders. Sanders, this one feels off. I don't know why it gave them TJ Sanders. But then you got Connerly to Washington, Ravel to Buffalo, Ursery to the Chiefs. Again, I feel like I forgot about Gray Zabel. And then Starks to Philadelphia definitely is reasonable. But okay, best players available. Shador Sanders, Jade Barron, Mike Green, Jackson Dart, Donovan Jackson, Trey Amos, Milroe, Henderson, Azariah Thomas, Benjamin Morrison. You know what? Again, all these names to me are completely fine. It's really just the fact that Gray Zabel and Jade Barron got forgotten about. That's wild. Like Ursery should be in this pool instead of Zabel. And then what? Ravel should be in the pool instead of Jade Barron. And then aside from that, maybe Mike Green should be in there. And the last edge rusher, whoever it is, I think the last edge rusher is Scarton. Yeah, that should probably be in that place. But I mean, I actually really like the mock aside from that, by the way, guys. Shador falling into the second round. By the way, I think he goes first pick of the second round in this timeline. I think Cleveland snags him at 33. And they reunite Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders, which I think is a pretty cool storyline. And then I think there's probably a quarterback run in the top 8-9 picks. You probably see 4 quarterbacks go. I think you'd see Shuck, Milroe, and what's his name? Dart go behind Shador. And yeah, I actually really, really like this mock draft. I'm going to figure out why ChatGPT forgot about Jahdae Barron and why it forgot about Mike Green and Gray Zabel, because I explicitly put draft ranges for every player in order to resolve this issue. And I think it just forgot that Jahdae Barron was supposed to, like, the urgency was supposed to pick up to get him off the board after 21. For Gray Zabel, that urgency was supposed to pick up where? Where's Gray Zabel? The hell? Oh, after 28. So he should have been the pick for Kansas City. And then Mike Green. Where's Mike Green? I think his range. Oh, 19 to 30. You know what? That's fair. Mike Green could have fallen. But at the same time, why is Scourton's why the hell did he go so high? What is his? Oh, 16 to 32. Nah, man. They should have got Mike Green off the board first. What the hell? Anyways, that's the mock draft, people. This is the third time we did this exercise. Every time we do it, we get a little bit better. We're probably going to do this again on Wednesday, but maybe not. That one is definitely pending. But shout out to the 6 people watching live. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This is Emotion Football. We have, again, maybe another live stream. If not, I'll be back on Saturday to do a draft recap, a day 3 watch along, and just a general. I think I'll do a power rankings. So we'll actually, for the first time, look at the teams heading into next year. So Saturday is going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button so you know you never miss when I go live, and like the video so the video gets pushed further. That's the best way to support content on YouTube. And if you appreciate what's going on, that's the best way to show your appreciation. With that said, we're going to cap it off here. I'll see you guys later. You guys take care. I'm out.